The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. The senators and all in attendance, please stand and be led in prayer by the Honorable Ghazala F. Hashmi, the senior senator from the 10th Senatorial District.
Good morning. I offer today a prayer that was composed by Muslim leaders in Great Britain, and I give attribution to them here by acknowledging their names. Dr. Waqar Azmi is Imam Shahid Raza Mustafa Field and Maulana Kamruzal Azmi. This is a Muslim prayer for our nation. Let us pray. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, in the name of God, the most gracious and the most merciful. O Lord, unite our nation around the principles of justice, peace, love, and faith. Put peace and love in our hearts for the diversity that makes our nation so beautiful. Most merciful, we pray for our nation to remain tolerant and loving. Remove prejudice from our hearts and allow us to love our brothers and sisters in humanity. Allow our government to remain accountable to the people. Give our leaders vision and wisdom as they take decisions affecting peace in our world so that they may uphold peace in the world, advance the welfare of our nation, and deal kindly and justly with all of our communities. O Lord, most strong, give us the strength to protect and care for our neighbors. Make our hearts and minds aware of our heritage, fulfilling duties and responsibilities as citizens. Lord, most merciful, allow us to show kindness to those who are most vulnerable in our society. Protect us from evil, inspire and guide us in defending those who open to abuse. Lord, most generous, allow us to give in charitable activity and to help those most in need. Make us more conscious of what is not good for us. Lord, most merciful, most generous, please give us the patience to continue to learn from one another and work towards a more peaceful and kind world. Make our hearts generous so that we may treat others as we wish to be treated ourselves. Help us to share that which we have with others for your sake. Strengthen us, love us, be kind to us all. Amen.
We will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Michael Jackson, Assistant Coordinator of Committee Operations, Senate Clerk's Office.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have you done it yet?
No.
Okay.
We're getting ready to. And then everything's normal today. We just have House bills on third reading.
Okay.
Which we do amendments.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be the chair of the committee. Okay, and that's who
Okay.
is
Highlighted for each one of those.
Yeah. So, and then we have House bills on second reading, which we'll just waive the reading.
Okay.
And then we have HJs on second reading, and we'll just waive the reading.
Just wait a minute. That's it?
That's it.
Easy.
Easy.
Excellent. The clerk will call the roll. All those in attendance will please record their vote aye. The clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Friday, February 12, 2021.
Senator from Loudoun County, Senator Bell moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 4.
Ayes 34, noes 4. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the House of Delegates. The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I move that we waive the reading of the communications from the House of Delegates.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 33, noes 5.
Ayes 33, noes 5. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the governor.
We do not have any, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other business to come before the Senate in the morning hour? Do any senators wish to be recognized? Seeing none, the clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Monday, February 15, 2021. Uncontested calendar, House bills on third reading.
Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I move that all House bills on third reading on the uncontested calendar, excuse me, that's pages 1 through 15, House Bill 1790 through House Bill 2320, be advanced to their final passage in a block after the adoption of any amendments thereto. Any senator desiring to move a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the House bills on the uncontested calendar third reading, pages 1 through 15, House Bill 1790 through House Bill 2320, be placed upon their final passage in the block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. The clerk will read the number of the bills.
House Bill 1790, House Bill 1798. Sorry, I forgot the committees. House Bill 1790, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1798, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1808, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas. Does the senator want to move the substitute? Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
House Bill 1812, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 18...
Mr. President,
Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
can House Bill 1812 come out of the block?
Without objection, House Bill 1812 will be removed from the block.
House Bill 1814, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary. House Bill 1816, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1824, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1827, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1830, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1842, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendment.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
I don't mind if somebody wants to move the amendment, but I would like this taken out of the block.
All right, does Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee amendment.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Now, Mr. President, I would move that come out of the block.
Thank the senator. Without objection, House Bill 1842 is removed from the block.
House Bill 1848, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1873, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1885, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1891, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1905, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1913, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1918, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute, and there is a floor substitute.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I appreciate the courtesy of the chair of the committee. I am respectfully going to ask that the body reject the committee substitute so that we can get to the floor substitute. I had a companion bill to this, and if we accept the floor substitute, it will conform the bill with the way that my bill was conformed with my consent in the House. So, Mr. President, I respectfully move the adoption of the substitute with the recommendation that it be denied.
Thank the senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
The noes have it. The committee substitute is rejected. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, now as it relates to the floor amendment and the nature of the substitute, I respectfully ask we waive the reading of that, sir.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I would move that the floor the floor amendment and the nature of a substitute be agreed to, and speaking to that motion.
Senator is the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Senate version of this bill passed this body unanimously, and what it deals with is that any student at a high school that has a parking permit must have a driver's permit. In the House of Delegates, they wanted to add the provision as it related to driver education, talking about the dangers of distracted driving and speeding, and that is the only change, and I think that that is a salient change, and I would move that the floor substitute be agreed to, sir.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding the floor substitute? Seeing none, the question is, shall the floor substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is adopted.
House Bill 1943, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1944, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1967, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1971, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 1981, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendments.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendments be adopted.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are adopted.
Mr. President, can House Bill 1981 on page 8 be pulled from the block?
Thank the senator. Without objection, House Bill 1981 will be removed from the block.
House Bill 1998, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 2009, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary. House Bill 2012, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary with amendments.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendments.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are adopted.
House Bill 2031, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendment.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that the committee amendment be adopted.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted.
Mr. President, could 2031 come out of the block?
Without objection, House Bill 2031 will be removed from the block.
House Bill 2046, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendment.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that the committee amendment be adopted.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted.
Mr. President,
Senior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Destow.
can House Bill, House Bill 2046 on page 10 come out of the block, please?
Without objection, House Bill 2046 will be removed from the block.
House Bill 2119, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 2140, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2161, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2169, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary. House Bill 2170, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2171, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2182, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 2202, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2222, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2233, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary. House Bill 2308, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 2310, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary. House Bill 2314, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 2320, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that the committee substitute be adopted.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. The question is, shall the bills...
President. Mr. President.
Sorry, Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
I'm happy to defer to the senator from Bedford. Okay, I would request that House Bill 1971 please come out of the block.
What page is that on?
Page 8, please.
Page 8. Without objection, House Bill 1971 will be removed from the block. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, could also on page 7, 1943 come out of the block?
Without objection, House Bill 1943 will be removed from the block. Question is, shall the House bills pass in a block? That is, all bills except for the following House bills: 1812, 1842, 1981, 2031, 2046, 1971, and 1943. All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The bills in the block pass.
Returning to page 2, House Bill 1812.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Looks like I'm going to be a little busy here for the next few minutes, so, with a lot of bills pulled out of the block that went through General Laws and Technology. 1812 is a bill dealing with casino gaming and is only technical amendments, makes technical amendments to the gaming law related to interaction with the sports betting law, the capital investment required for an applicant for a license, and authorized closed meetings under FOIA. The bill requires a operator's license to submit a minority investment plan disclosing any equity interest owned by a minority individual, and a plan for participation of minority individuals or minority-owned businesses in the applicant's purchase of goods and services related to casino gaming establishment. And with that, I would move that the bill be passed.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 1812? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1812 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 27, noes 12.
Ayes 27, noes 12. House Bill 1812 passes.
On page 4, House Bill 1842.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass, and speaking to the bill.
Senators, the floor.
Mr. President, what this bill does is it deals with the regulation of smoking under the Property Owners Association Act and the Condominium Act, so that under both of those permits exception in terms of smoking to the extent that there's a declaration that provides otherwise. But without that, the Board of Directors of the Property Owners Association Act would be able to restrict smoking in the development with rules that prohibit smoking in common areas and for developments that include private dwelling units, rules that prohibit smoking within such dwelling units, except to the extent that the condominium instruments provide otherwise. The Executive Board may be able to establish reasonable rules for that. And with that, I echo again my recommendation that we pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 1842? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1842 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 27, noes 12.
Ayes 27, noes 12. House Bill 1842 passes.
On page 7, House Bill 1943.
Mr. President, the bill passes. Speaking to the motion.
Senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the companion bill to Senate Bill 1287, which I carried, which passed the Senate 39-0, which simply provides a two-screen electronic pull tab device, and the amendments that both the House and Senate agreed to ensure that it is still a one-person machine. And with that, ask the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 1943? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1943 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. House Bill 1943 passes.
House Bill 1971. On page 8.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
All right, Mr. President, I'm tempted to defer to Senator McPike for the rest of these bills because he got a 39-0 vote on that one. So, but anyway, this with House Bill 1971, I move that the bill pass. And speaking to that motion,
there's the floor.
Basically, what this does is it provides for a person to be able to request an accessible parking accommodation in their development, and that the person receiving the request shall such request as a request for reasonable accommodation related to disability. So with that, I would renew the motion to pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 1971? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1971 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 1.
Ayes 38, noes 1. House Bill 1971 passes.
On page 8, House Bill 1981.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that this bill also pass. And speaking to this bill,
Senator, the floor.
We're moving closer to this year, 2021. We're only 40 years away here with 1981, but farther from my birth year. But what we have here is a bill related to access to dwelling unit during a declared states of emergency, and it's basically trying to make sure that the landlord has the opportunity to be able to address issues there, but that the tenant also has the ability to be able to control things as to when it occurs, and also to be able to say that things that are not urgent and in terms of in terms of the situation that we would have now during the pandemic, that the tenant can say to wait until after the emergency is passed.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 1981? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1981 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 27, noes 12.
Ayes 27, noes 12. House Bill 1981 passes.
On page 10, House Bill 2031.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, this bill deals with facial recognition technology, and it basically allows information authorization by local law enforcement agencies and public institutions of higher education to use facial recognition technology, and prohibits them in many places in terms of using technology, this facial recognition technology without authorization after July of 2021. And what it does is that there's also a distinction between the type of technology that is on your cell phones compared to the law enforcement type of technology that would be there for facial recognition.
Thank the senator.
Mr. President,
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougall, rise.
Mr. President, would Senator yield for a question?
Will Senator yield?
Yes, I'd be happy to yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
Mr. President, not being on the committee, I guess I have some concerns when I see facial recognition. Was there any definitional or restrictional items placed outside of this bill that pixels on the facial recognition cannot be manipulated, added, or changed? Or are we leaving that up to the locality or individual jurisdiction to determine?
I think this would be up to the locality and the individual jurisdiction and the individual law enforcement agency that would be there operating on things. We did differentiate, as I said earlier, between what you get on your cell phone and what is sort of the true facial recognition technology that law enforcement is familiar with.
Mr. President, would the gentleman yield for additional
Senator yield
questions?
for additional question?
I'll be happy to yield. I may or may not know the answer.
Senator yield, you have the floor.
Mr. President, could the gentleman tell me, are these databases going to be obtained from people that were convicted or charged with crimes, or are these going to be databases of people using public property and their unique biometric data maintained in a database?
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, I believe this is the unique data related to the database that the law enforcement agencies would have there.
Further question?
Mr. President, gentleman, yield for additional question.
Senator yield.
Certainly.
Mr. President,
Yield, you have the floor.
I cannot see in the language, is there a restriction on the sale of this data, or that it must be maintained by law enforcement? It appears to me a private entity could maintain this data and then sell it.
Senator's the floor.
Mr. President, I think that this is basically focused on the law enforcement sphere here, rather than what would be what someone might have as part of their private collection of things.
Further question?
Mr. President, I'll speak to the bill.
Senator's the floor.
Mr. President, this was on the uncontested document, and I'm not on general law, so I clearly missed it, and I'm happy if somebody wants to take some more time to answer my questions, but my concern is about facial recognition technology, as it's called.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator from Loudoun County, Senator Bell.
would the gentleman yield?
Senator Yield?
I yield, Mr. President.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
Mr. President, this was a fairly complicated issue, and we delved into it a little bit. I reluctantly try to step in this, and I hopefully will help to clarify. There were a couple of things that we were confused about. One of them was the difference between biometric and geometric. Biometric is the data, like if you have a facial recognition software on your phone or a device. So the definitions, which might help to clarify this, biometrics are physical or behavioral human characteristics that can be used to digitally identify a person to grant access to system devices or data. Examples are fingerprint, facial patterns, voice, or typing cadence. Geometric, and that's actually referenced in the bill, is data analysis, which is comprised aspects of image analysis, pattern analysis, shape analysis, and it also involves the use of multivariate statistics. So I hope that helps to clarify.
Mr. President, with the gentleman yield for a question.
Senator Yield?
Mr. President, I will reluctantly yield.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
Mr. President, if I'm understanding the gentleman, he is indicating that this is allowing localities to approve the geometric facial data that measures, in essence, things like the distance between your facial features that are unique biometric to each individual, and then would allow those localities to either contract with a private vendor or maintain a database themselves. Is that accurate?
Senator's the floor.
Mr. President, what I would say is the existing code, they are already able to do this. This bill actually puts some more limits on the time that the data can be kept. So it actually reins it in a bit. But this is already allowed under existing code.
Mr. President, ask the gentleman if he could point me to the line. Maybe I just didn't get the correct one that limits the time or the manner in which the data could be kept.
Jennifer, you have it handy?
Senator's the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to yield to the senator from
Northwestern Fairfax.
Northwestern Fairfax.
Senator Boysko.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, on line 33, I think you can see where it says that no campus police department shall purchase or deploy the recognition technology unless the governing board of the public institution authorizes the use of facial recognition technology. And then if you go down to line 38, it also says that police departments at public institutions are prohibited using the technology unless such use is authorized by the locality or the governing board. So I believe it is somewhat more limiting than expanding the ability for facial recognition. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Senator, for what purpose, Senator from Eastern Fairfax. Senator Surville, rise.
This bill goodbye for the day.
Without objection? Without objection, House Bill 2031 will go by for the day.
Regular calendar, House bills on third reading. House Bill 1737, a bill relating...
I think we, sorry, Madam Clerk, I think we may have one more on page 10.
Oops, sorry.
It's okay. House Bill 2046.
My yellow tab got lost.
No problem.
House Bill 2046 on page 10.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking to the bill.
Senator's the floor.
Mr. President, this extends the fair housing law protections that are as it relates to individual properties. What this does is it makes it says in the application of local land use ordinances or guidelines, or in the permitting of housing developments, they cannot discriminate on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, elderliness, familial status, source of funds, sexual orientation, gender identity, military status, or disability. And so it's basically extending that coverage of the Virginia Fair Housing Law to actions that the local government takes as it relates to housing.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the Senior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Staff, rise?
Mr. President, will the gentleman from Southern Fairfax County yield for a question?
Senator Yield.
Certainly.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
Mr. President, I see that short-term rentals are exempt from this. Does that mean we're going to allow short-term rentals to do discriminatory housing practices?
Senator's the floor.
Mr. President, certainly no more so than what they would be at right now. So I don't think that this changes any status for short-term rentals.
Further question?
Mr. President, I'd like to draw the gentleman from Southern Fairfax County's attention to line 83 of the bill. Thank you.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the Senior Senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to draw the body's attention to this is very similar, if not identical, to a bill that passed the Senate last year, 38-2, but got hauled up in the House for a variety of reasons. And so we have seen this before. Thank you.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 2046? Seeing none, question is, shall House Bill 2046 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 27, noes 11, Rule 36-1.
Ayes 27, noes 11, Rule 36-1. House Bill 2046 passes.
Mr. President?
Senator from Southern Fairfax,
I
Senator
just
Barker.
want to know whether I hold the daily record for number of uncontested bills that got pulled out of the block. So.
We'll check on that. Thank the senator.
Regular calendar has bills on third reading. House Bill 1737, a bill relating to nurse practitioners' practice without a practice agreement. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. Mr. President, could I go back momentarily? Temporarily.
Without objection, House Bill 1737 will go by temporarily.
House Bill 1811, a bill relating to the Virginia Public Procurement Act, preference for energy efficient and water efficient goods. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendments.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendments.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are adopted. Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that I move for passage of the bill.
Senator's the floor.
And Mr. President, what this bill does is it provides that in the course of getting goods, if a public body receives 2 or more bids for products that are Energy Star certified and meet other requirements, that they must pick between one of those bills that meets the requirements of Energy Star certification. This is already being implemented at the state level through the General Services body here at the state level, and what this would do is extend it to localities.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 1811? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1811 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 25, noes 14.
Ayes 25, noes 14. House Bill 1811 passes.
House Bill 1817, a bill relating to practice of certified nurse midwives, reported from the Committee on Education and Health, and there's a floor substitute.
Mr. President,
Senator from Alexandria, Senator Evan.
could HB 1817 go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 1817 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1821, a bill relating to arrest and prosecution when experiencing or reporting overdoses, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that House Bill 1821 pass.
Senator's the floor.
And speaking to the bill, Mr. President, this has to do with a person experiencing or reporting overdoses. The bill expands what is known as the Good Samaritan immunity procedures and protections with regard to drug overdoses. The bill addresses instances where multiple individuals are present during an overdose. Under current law, only the person seeking emergency medical attention receives the immunity from prosecution. The bill covers immunity protection to individuals who attempt to render aid to the overdosing individual while others are seeking emergency medical attention. So that's what it does. It expands the Good Samaritan immunity provision. And I move that the bill pass.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 1821? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1821 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 31, noes 8.
Ayes 31, noes 8. House Bill 1821 passes.
House Bill 1847, a bill relating to sports betting technical amendments, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move the adoption of the substitute.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass, and speaking to that.
Senator's the floor.
This is a bill that does some technical amendments, particularly relating to which events sports betting is allowed. It also clarifies and makes clear that a permit for sports betting that is issued to a casino operator shall not count towards the maximum number of permits that the lottery board can issue, and makes some technical amendments between sports betting law and casino gaming law.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 1847? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1847 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 25, noes 13.
Ayes 25, noes 13. House Bill 1847 passes.
House Bill 1849, a bill related to apprenticeship training programs reported from the Committee on General Laws.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, this deals with a number of state agencies, the different departments, the Board of Workforce Development, the Department of Labor and Industry, the Department of General Services, et cetera, looking at apprenticeship training programs and developing a report on that. What it does is it requires these agencies to work together to review the availability of programs, apprenticeship programs, and evaluate the capacity to build a program that would require contractors engaged in construction with public bodies participate in such programs. The bill requires these agencies to complete their review and any advisory group meetings by September, and to submit to the Governor and General Assembly an executive summary and report on its findings.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 1849? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1849 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 18.
Ayes 21, noes 18. House Bill 1849 passes.
House Bill 1878, a bill relating to juvenile intake and petition appeal to a magistrate on a finding of no probable cause. Reported from the Committee on the Judiciary.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that House Bill 1878 pass.
Senators, the floor.
Speaking to the bill, Mr. President, this is an administration bill designed to encourage juveniles to be diverted in certain cases. What it does is prohibits an end run around a juvenile intake officer's decision to divert a criminal offense in lieu of issuing a petition against the juvenile. What would happen is if there's an appeal from the intake officer to the magistrate would be notified that the intake officer found no probable cause existed for the issuance of a petition against the juvenile. The complaining witness could still go to the Commonwealth's attorney, however, and that's what the bill does. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose, Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain rise?
Mr. President, I rise to speak to the bill.
Senators, the floor.
Mr. President, I would hope that members would take a close look at this and consider voting no on this bill. This morning, as a lawyer, I get daily clips from Virginia Lawyers Weekly, and the story at the top of the clips is one that I think reflects the philosophy behind this particular bill. The story at the top of the clips deals with decisions by certain prosecutors, particularly in a couple of Northern Virginia jurisdictions, not to staff cases. So a criminal case comes up, no prosecutor shows up, and what has been happening is the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office hasn't even been telling the victim about the case. So the victim has no opportunity to be heard. It may have involved an assault on them, personal crime, and these prosecutors are making what are, in essence, final decisions without paying attention to victims. And in this case, we're dealing with diversion decisions that are being made by juvenile intake officers that are going to be final, not subject to review. If they make a diversion decision, the victim doesn't have an opportunity in those cases to effectively be heard. It's a final, unappealable decision, and I think that it really reflects an erosion of the respect that we have traditionally been showing to victims in Virginia and that they deserve.
Thank the senator. For what purpose, Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougall rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, speaking briefly to the bill.
Senators, the floor.
Mr. President, Senator from Rockingham stole some of my thunder, but I just want you to understand the process. For a juvenile case where it's involving a juvenile person that's alleged to have committed a crime, law enforcement or an individual does not go to a magistrate. They go to a juvenile intake officer. That juvenile intake officer is employed by the Department of Juvenile Justice and resides in each jurisdiction. Mr. President, that intake officer then looks at the case, looks at the record of the juvenile, and makes a decision about whether to issue a petition, which means it goes to the judge, and the judge ultimately makes the decision, or not to issue a petition, and it never goes to the judge. It never ends up in the courtroom. Mr. President, there are a number of times where that is the right decision, that there are things that shouldn't. A trespassing, it happens frequently. Kids go to the local hole that's quarry that's dangerous for them to go to. They get a trespassing charge in their senior year of high school, and the probation officer will divert that. And that is the reason we have that in process, and it's a good process. But, Mr. President, there are other types of charges, even misdemeanors, like sexual assault, like brandishing a firearm. Those are ones where the victim should have the ability to have some decision in the process. And at a very minimum, there are ones where the court, the juvenile judge, should be able to look at a social history and make some determination. So the process now is if it comes and that juvenile intake officer decides to divert a charge like sexual assault or brandishing a firearm, right now the victim can say, the situation was too serious for me, I'm not comfortable. They go to a magistrate, and the magistrate would then issue, in essence, the petition, and it would go in front of the juvenile judge. The juvenile judge can make the decision that that case should be handled in a multitude of directions. Services ordered, their communication between the victim and the juvenile, or punishment. The court can still dismiss or take that case under advisement. All the options are available. What this does is say that intake officer at that initial process, without hearing from the victim, makes the final decision, and there's no way around that. Or I guess technically there would be a way around it. You could go to the Commonwealth Attorney, and in rural jurisdictions like the ones that I represent and spend most of my time, that grand jury that the Commonwealth Attorney could go in front of meets every couple months. So every couple months, that Commonwealth Attorney could go to a grand jury and have them review the case, and then it would go to a circuit court judge, not a juvenile judge that we train and equip to make these decisions. Mr. President, I understand the intent of this bill, but I do think it goes farther than what the intent is and brings in more serious charges than what we're trying to do, and would ask the body to reject it in its current form.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Senator.
Mr. President, would the gentleman from Hanover yield for a question?
Senator Yield.
Yes, Mr. President.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would preface my question by saying that the senator said 3 times that if the intake officer decides not to issue any type of charging instrument, that's final, but at the very end acknowledged that the victim could go to the Commonwealth Attorney. Isn't it also true that the victim or the detective could go to the Commonwealth's Attorney and say the following: we went to the juvenile intake officer, he or she declined to issue a charging instrument, we are precluded from going to the magistrate, but we're asking you, Mr. Commonwealth Attorney, to allow me, the detective, to investigate the matter and take out a warrant if necessary, not requiring the use of a grand jury.
Senator's the floor.
Mr. President, I would answer the gentleman that the way the language is written, I could argue that even the law enforcement was precluded. Mr. President, for a juvenile, and the reason went into a little more of an explanation, felonies and misdemeanors are taken out by petitions. They don't go and receive warrants. So even if it's a serious matter like a rape or murder or robbery, it is still obtained through a petition. So, Mr. President, when it says prevented from going to the magistrate to get a warrant, I could read the way the language is currently read to it precludes everyone from doing it. But certainly we both agree that under any scenario, the Commonwealth's Attorney would still have the ability to bring a matter in front of a grand jury. Mr. President, the difference across the Commonwealth in a jurisdiction like the one we're in now, there's probably a multi-jurisdictional grand jury that meets continuously and regular grand juries that meet frequently. In certain areas of the Commonwealth, though they're really multi-jurisdictional grand juries are not used frequently, and regular grand juries meet every other month.
Speaking to the measure, I thank the gentleman. Speaking to the measure,
Senator's the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen of the body, if you'll look at lines 146 through 149, it defines and describes exactly what can happen, and there is no ambiguity, as my colleague from Hanover says. It makes it very clear that if the matter is brought to an intake officer, if you look at 148, it says, his decision is final and the complainant, emphasis added, and the complainant shall not have a right to apply to a magistrate for a warrant. The words mean something, and that's exactly the limitation. A complainant, having first gone to the intake officer and is shut down for whatever reason, cannot go and appeal to the magistrate. But the following two things can happen. It doesn't preclude the detective going to the magistrate. It doesn't preclude the complainant and or detective going to the Commonwealth attorney and saying, look, this is what happened. The intake officer dismissed it. It shouldn't have been dismissed. It's a very serious matter. And I'm asking you, Mr. Commonwealth Attorney, to allow us to continue to investigate. When that's done, either the detective can go to a magistrate or the Commonwealth Attorney can authorize them to do it. And what this bill does, folks, it's a practical, purposeful bill that prevents what my colleague from Eastern Henrico County referred to as magistrate shopping. I'd ask that the body pass the measure. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose, the senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Speak briefly to the bill.
Senator's the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Juvenile Code is written to be in the best interest of the child. And we've learned an awful lot since I started out in this in the juvenile justice world in 1970. It's been 50-some years. And what we have learned is that diverting cases away from the court system, diverting cases away from detention is not just successful, it is spectacularly successful. Our detention homes in the Commonwealth of Virginia are currently averaging about a little over 500 kids in predispositional status. And the norm when I was working in Fairfax County and running a detention center is that we were full to the gills, some 1,420-some beds filled. Diversion has worked, and that's really what we're getting at here, is that young people are being diverted more and more into programs at the intake level, and it's working. I had one former member of the Senate Finance Committee said, if we knew what we were going to have the numbers we have today in terms of juvenile crime in the 1980s, we would be declaring victory. This stuff is working. This is another way of making sure that we're able to make those decisions at juvenile intake that work best for kids, and I would urge everyone to support the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 1878? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1878 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 18.
Ayes 21, noes 18. House Bill 1878 passes.
House Bill 1882, a bill relating to deeds of trust, amendments to loan document, statement of interest rate of a refinance mortgage, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking to the bill.
Senator's the floor.
Mr. President, this deals with refinancings of loans that are provided to that are providing the cash to be able to get a deed of trust. The deed of trust, once it's been recorded and it states that it is secures in indebtedness and other obligations, they got a loan there and provides the information related to that specific loan that they can, when there's a refinancing or some other change in status where it's amended, modified, or restated from time to time, they don't have to go back recording an amendment of such deed of trust to such a deed of trust, and that as long as the prior mortgage is stated on the first page of a refinance mortgage. And with that, I renew my motion to pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 1882? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1882 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 2.
Ayes 37, noes 2. House Bill 1882 passes.
House Bill 1904, a bill relating to teachers and other licensed school board employees' cultural competency. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking to that bill.
Senators, the floor.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, what the bill does is related to teachers and other licensed school board employees. It's the cultural competency program, and it's very much similar to the bill that Senator Locke introduced. This is just the House version. And again, I move that the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 1904? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1904 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 18.
Ayes 21, noes 18. House Bill 1904 passes.
House Bill 1931, a bill relating to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, electronic meetings. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking to the bill,
Senator, is the floor.
Mr. President, this bill, which is a recommendation of the FOIA Council, provides for individuals who are members of various public bodies to be able to participate virtually in those meetings of those public bodies, provided that they don't exceed 25% of the meetings held during a calendar year. So it does substantially change that because right now the limit is 2 meetings per year, regardless of what percentage that would be of the total number of meetings.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 1931? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1931 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 28, noes 11.
Ayes 28, noes 11. House Bill 1931 passes.
House Bill 1940, a bill relating to the Department of Education, guidelines on excused student absences, civic or political engagement. Reported for the Committee on Education and Health with amendments.
Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, House Bill 1940 provides that, subject to guidelines established by the Department of Education, each school board shall permit 1 school day long excused absence per year for any middle school or high school student in the local school division who is absent from school to engage in civic or political events, and may permit additional excused absences for such students who are absent for such purposes. Again, I move that the bill pass, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 1940? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1940 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 26, noes 13.
Ayes 26, noes 13. House Bill 1940 passes.
House Bill 2002, a bill relating to child support health care coverage. Reported from the Committee on the Judiciary with a substitute.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that the committee substitute be adopted.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass.
Senator, the
Senate
floor.
Bill, Senate Bill 2002. By way of explanation, Mr. President, what this does is simply changes the entity responsible for providing parties with notice that in those cases where the custodial parents do not make more than 200% above the federal poverty level, they should be given notice that the FAMUS is available to them, that is a family access to medical insurance security plan is available to the family, and it changes the party responsible for giving the notice from the court to the intake officer at the time of the petition for child support is filed. With that explanation, I move the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 2002? Seeing none, question is, shall House Bill 2002 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. House Bill 2002 passes.
House Bill 2014, a bill relating to the Virginia Residential Landlord and Tenant Act, landlord remedies, landlord's acceptance of rent with reservation, tenant's right of redemption. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking to the bill,
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this bill is one of those peace in the valley bills in that this was negotiated extensively by landlords on one side and tenants advocates on the other side, and what they've reached a complete agreement that as long as the tenant who has been threatened with eviction or other actions to be taken because they were behind on their rent, catches up on all the rent payment, pays any damages, money judgments, award of attorney fees, court costs, or anything else that is required of them. As long as they pay all of that, the landlord can then not take them to court for eviction unless the basis of that eviction proposal is something unrelated to the monies that have been provided to the landlord and the rents themselves. With that, I would renew my motion that we pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 2014? Seeing none, for purpose, Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise.
Gentleman, yield for a question.
Senator Yield.
Yes, I'd be happy to yield.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
I see that this is pursuant to the Virginia Residential Landlord Tenant Act. I'd ask the gentleman, is this solely refer to those landlords that have more than 4 units, or is this all landlords in Virginia?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, my understanding is that this would relate to all landlords.
Further question?
Further question.
Senator Yield.
Yes.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
So in other words, if you've had perhaps a long-standing issue with non-payment from a tenant and you filed an unlawful detainer action, you get a possession order, before the writ of eviction is issued, they then pay you, well, I guess what the judgment amount would be, then at that point you're not allowed to execute on the writ of eviction?
Senator has the floor.
Yes, Mr. President. Senator Peterson, yes, that would be the case there. That as long as they've caught up with everything that they would have been owed as a result of the judgment that would be issued is paid, then they would not be able to proceed with an eviction on that basis.
Final question.
Senator Yield.
Yes.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
Is this a law for just a state of emergency we're under, or is this a law we're putting on the books for the rest of eternity?
Senator has the floor.
I don't think it's necessarily for the rest of eternity, but it is not limited to just the pandemic period.
Further question?
Just speak to the measure.
Senator has the floor.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, I've been practicing in landlord-tenant court for many, many, many years, and I've been on both sides of these issues. And I recognize during the state of emergency, we've voted for and put a lot of restrictions on the law in regard to tenant evictions because of the health issue. But I will say that once we get back to what I'm going to refer to as semi-normal, at some point you do have to allow people to enter their own contracts. And you may have a tenant that, for whatever reason, just doesn't pay the rent. And it may be at the last second they borrow. It's the old George Thorogood song, from one bourbon, one scotch, one beer, if you remember. The guy's always trying to find money to pay the rent. And at some point, a landlord has to have a remedy. Now, I recognize this is a right of redemption, and so theoretically they're getting their money. But I just wonder if we're sort of bit by bit eroding rights under contract. And for the large institutional landlords, this isn't going to be a big deal. They can shift this risk. But for the ordinary moms and pops that rent single-family dwellings, laws like this make it almost impossible. It really does make it very difficult to be a residential landlord. So just something to keep in mind.
For what purpose is the Junior Senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the gentleman from Southern Fairfax yield for a question?
Senator Yield.
Certainly.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
What would happen in the following situation? The landlord goes to General District Court to secure, to have the judge declare that not only is the tenant in violation of the lease, to wit, he hasn't paid the rent, but he's also damaged the premises extensively. And on that basis, the judge issues a writ of possession to the landlord. The landlord may not want to accept the rent a week later or 2 weeks later. He may want to have the tenant evicted because of the damage to the premises. That was one of the components of his lawsuit. What would happen in that situation?
Senator, the floor.
Excuse me, Mr. President and Senator Morrissey, in that situation, the landlord would be able to continue to proceed with the eviction based upon that. So it does basically say that only if the rent was the issue going into court and getting the possession in the first place, would they be required not to pursue it to an eviction?
I thank the senator, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 2014? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 2014 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 18, noes 21.
Ayes 18, noes 21. House Bill 2014 fails.
House Bill 2085, a bill relating to emergency services and disaster law, local and interjurisdictional emergency operation plans. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that House Bill 2085 pass, and speaking to that motion.
Senators, the floor.
Mr. President, this has just it's a fairly simple, straightforward bill. It just requires local and interjurisdictional agencies who have emergency operation plans to ensure that such plans are applied equitably and that the needs of minority and vulnerable communities are met during emergencies. And that's the sum and substance of this measure, and I would renew my motion that we pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 2085? Seeing none, question is, shall House Bill 2085 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 3.
Ayes 36, noes 3. House Bill 2085 passes.
House Bill 2128, a bill relating to sale and transfer of firearms, criminal history record information checks. Reported from the Committee on the Judiciary.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that House Bill 2128 pass.
Senators, the floor.
And by way of explanation, what this does, Mr. President, it just extends from 3 days to 5 days the requirement that the state police perform a criminal background check in order to comply with federal law. Currently, if the background check is not done within the 3-day period, the sale is considered final. And this extended to 5 days gives the opportunity for the state police to perform the background check again in conformity with federal law. That's all it does. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 2128? Seeing none, question is, shall House Bill 2128 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 17.
Ayes 22, no 17. House Bill 2128 passes.
House Bill 2168, a bill relating to illegal gambling, skills games, civil penalty enforcement by localities and Attorney General. Reported from the Committee on the Judiciary with amendments.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendments be adopted.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are adopted. Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that House Bill 2168 pass.
Senator, has the floor.
By way of explanation, Mr. President, with this amendment, it becomes identical to Senator Reeves' bill, Senate Bill 1465, which passed the Senate 39-0. It simply provides for, with regard to illegal skill games, that the penalty be up to $25,000. Thank you.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 2168? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 2168 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 0, Rule 36-2.
Ayes 36, no 0, Rule 36-2. House Bill 2168 passes.
Mr. President.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Serville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having voted on the prevailing side by which we rejected House Bill 2014 on page 20, I'd move that we reconsider that vote.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 2014 failed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Serville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can that bill go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 2014 will go by for the day.
House Bill 2172, a bill relating to the Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity, certification of small women-owned and minority-owned businesses, right to appeal denial of initial certification. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking to the bill.
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, this bill is a recommendation of the Joint Legislative and Audit Review Commission, JLARC. In reviewing, in assessing things related to small business and supplier diversity that they studied this year. What this does is allows that if someone files an application to be certified as a small business, a women-owned business, a minority-owned business, whatever the case may be, and is denied that status, that they can appeal the denial and based on, just on the basis that there was a mistake made in the judgment that was rendered on the decision.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 2172? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 2172 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. House Bill 2172 passes.
House Bill 2175, a bill relating to housing protections, foreclosures, manufactured housing, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute be adopted.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, what this does is establish protections as it relates to manufactured housing properties that individuals and families have, protections that are not currently available to under the Condominium Act and the Residential Landlord and Tenant Act, but are not applied comparably as it relates to manufactured housing. This is basically is identical to Senate Bill 1327 that the senior senator from Richmond City had, which was passed on a vote of 39 to 0 this year.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 2175? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 2175 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 4.
Ayes 35, noes 4. House Bill 2175 passes.
House Bill 2229, a bill relating to the Virginia Residential Landlord and Tenant Act, responsibilities of real estate brokers, foreclosure of single-family residential dwelling units, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass, and speaking to the bill.
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, what this bill does is establish a system whereby if there is a single-family residence that's foreclosed on that has been rented out at the time of the foreclosure, and there's a tenant in that dwelling unit at the time of the sale, if the purchaser of the property plans to use that unit as a primary residence, then the rental agreement terminates at that point, and the tenant is required to vacate the dwelling unit no more than 90 days after receiving such written notice. So that bill contains a few other technical amendments, but that's the main substance of the bill, and I renew my motion to pass the bill.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose, Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise?
Gentleman, yield for a question.
Will Senator yield?
Yes, I yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
What happens if the foreclosing party does not intend to live there? They just intend to rent it themselves, which is probably the case 99% of the time.
Then
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, my understanding is that in that situation, the agreement, the lease that the tenant has would be enforced for the duration of that lease, and the person who purchased the property would be empowered to try to negotiate a different lease at the end of the lease period.
Further question?
Further question.
Senator yield?
Gentleman yield.
Yes.
Senator yield. You have the floor.
So in other words, if the landlord goes into default and the property is foreclosed, so now the title is owned by the bank or by the lender, by somebody wholly separate, and they had a contract with a tenant, and that contract presumably would be void because they no longer exist. I mean, they no longer have a right, they don't own the property any longer, that you're saying that the party that now buys it at foreclosure is still bound by that lease. I mean, the lease could be below market or what have you. I mean, or it could be there is no lease, it's just a month to month, but the new owner is now bound by that lease.
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, that is my understanding, that the new owner would be bound by that lease for the duration of that lease.
All right.
What purpose, Senator from King George, Senator Stewart, rise?
Speak to the bill, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, along the lines of the gentleman from Fairfax City, in Virginia, we have a thing called a 99-year lease. And it's a perfectly legal document, and oftentimes you'll find family members that, for purposes of financing or whatever, may need a family member in that unit, and they rent it to them for a nominal sum. And so now, if you bought this at foreclosure, you could be buying something with a long-term lease for a nominal sum. I don't think most people would object, and I'm not sure the reason for the bill. If you're buying for reinvestment, you'd love to have that tenant stay on, but you certainly want the option to renegotiate at some point in time if you want. This actually, I don't know how this benefits, and I'm not sure why we would do that, but it seems to me it is a restriction that is unnecessary, and as the senator from Franklin says, it's a bad bill.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, could this bill, Senate Bill 2229, go by for the day?
Without objection, Senate Bill 2229 will go by for the day.
House Bill 2249, a bill relating to the Virginia Residential Landlord and Tenant Act, landlord charges for security deposits, insurance premiums for damage insurance, and insurance premiums for renters insurance, filing of information regarding resident agent appointed by non-resident property owner, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, this deals with security deposits, damage insurance, and insurance premiums for renters insurance. Basically what it does is it provides that a landlord can require a tenant to pay a security deposit, insurance premiums for damage insurance, and insurance premiums for renters insurance prior to the beginning of a tenant being moved in, but that the amount cannot exceed 2 months periodic rent. However, the landlord will be empowered, if desired, to add on to the rent additional amounts to cover the cost of that, so that could be done. So.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 2249? For purpose, Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise.
Can this bill go by for the day?
Without objection?
Sure.
House Bill 2249 will go by for the day.
House Bill 2258, a bill relating to substantial risk order registry, maintenance, and access, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that House Bill 2258 pass.
Senator has the floor.
And by way of explanation, Mr. President, this bill simply allows the release of certain information for research purposes. It authorizes the Virginia State Police to release certain information in substantial risk order registry matters upon request of institution of higher education and certain research institutions for the purpose of monitoring and evaluating the impact of substantial risk orders, and that the identifying information of individuals not be released. And again, it's mostly for research purposes. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey, rise?
Would the gentleman from Roanoke City yield for a question?
Senator, yield.
I'll be happy to yield.
Senator Yields, you have the floor.
Thank the gentleman. I've reread the statute several times, and I'm, excuse me, reconsidering my vote in judiciary. This bill does more than just allow for the sharing of statistical information, but I'm concerned about the words on lines 15 and 19, where it says, actually, let's look at line 18. The Department of State Police may, for the purpose of monitoring and evaluating the impact of these provisions on public safety, do certain things. Can the gentleman explain to the body what the term monitor means and how extensive is monitor?
Senator has the floor.
My understanding is that it's simply a matter of taking the information and following it over time and deciding whether the extent to which the impact is more of a just these research type terms.
Would the gentleman yield for a further question, Mr.
Senator
President?
Yield.
I'll be glad to.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
If you read lines 15 and it says, and to monitor and evaluate the administration and effectiveness of sections 19.2-152.13 and et sec. Those are the emergency substantial risk orders and the substantial risk orders. Would it allow the state police to monitor that substantial risk order to allow them to go to the location where an individual was, and in order to monitor whether or not he has gotten rid of all of his or her guns, go into the home?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, the individual names and personal identifying information is not supposed to be involved, so I would not think so. I think they're looking at it in the aggregate, it's my understanding anyway, and to evaluate the impact of these substantial risk orders. Are they working? That's basically the way I look at it.
Speaking to the measure.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of this body, with regard to the Senator's last comments, removing the names and other personal identification information, that has to do with releasing the data before it is, redacting the data before it is released to the institution of higher education. Let's just take a step back. Remember when this bill came up in the 2020 session, at first, the first iteration of the bill allowed the police to go to the home when somebody was suspected of being a danger to himself and others, and actually issue the protective order, but also search the house at that time for guns. Then during another iteration of it, it was determined correctly that a search warrant wouldn't be issued unless there was probable cause to believe that the person first kept guns there. Here's what I'm concerned about now, in that it allows the Department of State Police to monitor and evaluate the administration and effectiveness of those emergency substantial risk orders. Does that mean that I'm fine with a registry being kept, but does that now allow the state police, when determining whether or not the individual at 1234 Main Street who was issued a protective order, a substantial risk order, and is known to have guns there, in order to monitor the administration and effectiveness of that substantial risk order, allow them to go to the home, say, we just want to monitor whether or not this order is being complied with, and we're going to come in the house and look at it. That's my concern, and monitor and evaluate is used twice in that section. That causes me to put some brakes on this legislation, which I supported during Senate Judiciary. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose does the Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Surville, rise?
Speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. My microphone light is not on, but my microphone works. So, Mr. President, I appreciate the comments from the junior senator from Richmond, but I don't think he's reading the bill right. So what this bill is intended to do is simply give access to data to folks in higher education to provide, to be able to study this program to see if it's working. I believe the testimony in committee was that Professor Richard Bonney, who's a law professor at the University of Virginia School of Law, is actually
go to the door and ask some questions. It stopped short of saying he could go into the house sans warrant to investigate. I will not support this bill unless it has a provision that says, notwithstanding any other provision of this law, a law enforcement officer may not go into a home without securing a search warrant. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 2258? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 2258 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 18, noes 21.
Ayes 18, noes 21. House Bill 2258 fails.
House Bill 2290, a bill relating to punishment for conviction of second or subsequent misdemeanor larceny, reported from the Committee on the Judiciary.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
I'm sorry. Mr. President, I move that the Senate Bill 2290 pass.
Senators, the floor.
Mr. President, what this bill does is, I can find it. This is the bill that provides that punishment for a conviction of a subsequent or misdemeanor larceny, when a person has been convicted of a second larceny, he shall be confined in jail not less than 30 days, no more than 12 days, and for a third or subsequent offense, he should be found guilty of a Class 6 felony. Mr. President, this is a bill that it repeals that provision. That's all it does. It repeals the subsequent mandatory minimum sentence in the case of a second or subsequent misdemeanor larceny conviction. Under current law, when a person is convicted of a second or subsequent larceny, there's a mandatory minimum of 30 days, no more than 12 months. And for a third or subsequent, he shall be guilty of a Class 6 felony. So this does away with the mandatory minimum with regard to subsequent misdemeanor larcenies. These are misdemeanors, Mr. President. And I move that the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 2290? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 2290 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 18.
Ayes 21, noes 18. House Bill 2290 passes. For purposes of the junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey, rise.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise for a motion.
Senators, the floor.
Mr. President, having voted on the prevailing side in which House Bill 2258 was rejected, I'd ask that we reconsider that vote.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 2258 failed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. Junior Senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey.
Mr. President, may this matter go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 2258 will go by for the day.
Returning to page 15, House Bill 1737.
Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I reported this bill out with my floor report last year, and I couldn't find my report. So now I have it. But House Bill 1737, the nurse practitioner's practice without a practice agreement, reduces from 5 to 2 the number of years of full-time clinical experience a nurse practitioner must have to be eligible to practice without a written or electronic practice agreement. The provision of the bill will expire on July 1st, 2022. And again, I renew my motion to pass the bill.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding House Bill 1737? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1737 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. House Bill 1737 passes.
Returning to page 23, uncontested calendar, House bills on second reading.
Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I move that all House bills on second reading on the uncontested and regular calendars, it's pages 23 through 34, House Bill 1845 through HB 2318, that the rules be suspended and the second constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the second reading of the titles of the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 23 through 34, House Bill 1845 through House Bill 2318, be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
I now move, Mr. President, those bills go by for the day.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on third reading go by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day. Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
We're now on page 35. I would, with respect to the uncontested and regular joint resolutions, I move that all House joint resolutions on the second reading, Mr. President, on the uncontested and regular calendars, that's page 35, and that's HJR 522 through 527, that the rules be suspended and the second constitutional reading of those titles be waived.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the second reading of the titles of the House joint resolutions on the uncontested and regular calendars, page 35, House Joint Resolution 522 through House Joint Resolution 527, be waived? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The reading of the titles is waived. Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I move that those resolutions now go by for the day.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the House joint resolutions on the uncontested and regular calendars now on third reading go by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolutions will go by for the day. Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I now inquire of the clerk, does that complete the calendar for today?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? For what purpose does Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise?
I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Senator's the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, last Friday I got my vaccination shot at the Arthur Ashe Center over on the Boulevard, And I pulled in, it was a driving snowstorm, and there were volunteers who were parking the cars and organizing us into cohorts, and then walked us in and had us fill out all the questionnaires, and I was in and out of there in about 15 minutes, and it was a wonderfully organized process. Then on Saturday, my wife took my father-in-law to the Fairfax County Government Center, and again, took him in, and he was feeling faint. Somebody was there with a wheelchair. He does not speak very much English. There was someone there who was able to translate in his native language, and he was able to get vaccinated. And all of this, again, occurred in about 20, 25 minutes. And I can't tell you how much I appreciated the volunteers who were there, the professionalism, the ability, the organization. I just was really amazed by it, and so was my wife and our family, and I'm very appreciative. And, I've clashed on occasion with Fairfax County, but I will tell you, I am really, their Department of Health has done an outstanding job the last couple of weeks in vaccinating people, prioritizing people, and they've done it in large part with volunteer labor. Now, that brings me to the next subject. As we've known, other than getting people vaccinated and keeping them alive, the most important issue, and we've been consistent about this, is reopening schools. And it seems to me if we can have volunteers who have a skill set in healthcare and create a medical reserve corps and organize them and bring them back into the workplace, bring them back to vaccinate kids, we can also organize people to come back and teach our children. And I mention this because we have committed, the governor has committed, the Senate has committed, and within a few days the House is going to commit to bring the kids back into class. It may happen March 15th. It may happen July 1st. It may happen some date in between, or it may have already happened. But the bottom line is the kids are going to come back, and that's going to be over 1 million children. Now the question is, who's going to educate these children? We know that our education workforce will not look the same as it did a year ago. We just know that. So how are we going to put the kids first? Well, one of the ways we can do it is by creating an education reserve corps. And today, Senator Donovan and myself had a press conference. We had a few people there, and we talked about this idea about creating an education reserve corps where people that have skills, either they're retired teachers, retired military, people with professional degrees, people with prior teaching experience, they come back, particularly in the high schools, and they're available to the school divisions to teach. And I said this sort of jokingly 2 weeks ago that I could come back and teach a class on secured transactions. Well, there probably won't be too many high school students that want to take that class, but maybe a class in government, maybe a class in civics. The bottom line is we have skills, those of us that have been blessed to have a great education, to have been blessed to serve in a capacity where we now have the ability to give back. I think this is something that we could do to make sure our kids did not step back because of this pandemic. Now, I will tell you, 2 weeks ago, I complimented Secretary Carney as a Marine, as someone I respect, as someone who I think is going to help us find a way out of this. I talked to him this morning. He likes the idea. He thought it was an idea that we could actually pull down Federal CARES Act money to make this a reality. He also challenged me, and I accepted the challenge, that we will go and co-teach a government class together at Fairfax High School. Happy to do it. Happy to do it. The bottom line is, there are going to be issues with personnel. There are going to be issues when the kids come back, making sure those kids get educated. We can solve those issues. We have the ability in this Commonwealth, and I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to the Education Reserve Corps being a part of that solution. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose the Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to tag some comments off of my friend from Fairfax City.
Senator's the floor.
The CDC released a new report February. It was last Friday, they released it February 15th, but we got it last Friday. And it reiterates a lot of what they said last year, but it gives very specific guidelines of how to open school. And in fact, it goes so far as to say that schools are an integral part of our infrastructure. We must have open schools in order for our system of society to work in the best interest of children and families. And it further states that schools should be the last entity closed in any closure and the first opened before businesses or anything else, because they are that important to making sure that our children are safe and succeed. And so, Mr. President, with that in mind, we are behind. And we need to get these schools open. It is an urgent matter. We can't let up. I know it's off the floor of the Senate, but we really have to keep working together to advocate for these children and the thousands of parents that have reached out to me and all of you, I know as well. So CDC is our subject matter expert. It is from the Biden administration. I will point out these guidelines are absolute, and we must get these schools open as fast as possible. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be recognized? Seeing none, the clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Monday, February 15th, the Committee on Commerce and Labor will meet 15 minutes after adjournment, West Committee Room. The Education and Health Subcommittee on Higher Education will meet 5 minutes after adjournment in the Senate chamber, Senators Locke, Peterson, Cosgrove, and Hashmi. Tomorrow, Tuesday, February 16th, the Judiciary Subcommittee on Civil Law will meet at 8 a.m. East Committee Room, Senators Peterson, Lucas, Norman, Obenshain, Surville, and Boysko. The Committee on Finance and Appropriations will meet at 9 a.m. in the West Committee Room. The Democratic Caucus will meet 1/2 hour before session in the Democratic Caucus Room, and the Republican Caucus will meet 1/2 hour before session in the Republican Caucus Room.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Seeing none, I call on Madam President. Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 12 noon tomorrow.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow.